Welcome back to Retail Therapy. My name's Will DeFries. In the studio with me today, my co-host Barrett Dudley. Barrett, how's it going?
It's going all right. It's going all right. It's nasty out there, man. I was swerving out of the way of tree limbs on the way over here, but
We almost didn't make it in the studio today, given the weather in Austin, Texas.
and we probably wouldn't have otherwise. But today's a pretty big day.
When you have your first ever guest on Retail Therapy, you make sure to get to the studio, rain or shine, ice, snow, whatever it may be.
I spent my entire morning just slapping the snow tires on, and that's I was gonna do whatever it took to get here.
I know, and you dressed like a guy who might know something about car mechanics and things of that nature.
Yeah. I've got gloves in my puffer over here. You got to be prepared in case something goes down. You got to get your hands a little dirty. But no, I've got on the chunky hiking boots. I've got my beanie. I am well equipped, and but now it's time to pod. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, today we've got a special guest phoning in from. Are you in Newcastle right now?
Yeah, just outside Newcastle and Gateshead, guys.
His name is Rhys McKee, but you may know him on Instagram as Cake Not Crumbs. So whether it's watches, sneakers, or just match day content, he's been my absolute go-to on Instagram lately. Rhys, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You got to be riding pretty high right now, actually, after last night's match in the Carabao Cup, right?
You'd think so. It was probably about 40 plus minutes of anxiety, and then you win, and you're elated for a period of time, and then you realize, oh, we've got to play Man U, and they're a solid team. If we were playing Man U 4 or 5 months ago, I'd be a lot more confident. But I've been watching United a lot more intently the past couple of weeks, like in anticipation of facing them. And I'm still confident, but I'm not confident at the point where I'm gonna be trying to rile United fans up either. You know what I mean? Because it could go both ways. Who knows?
I'm a little scared to tell you this just because I'm the typical American, but I am a United supporter, unfortunately. So you can talk as much garbage as you need to me today.
I'm not totally trash or anything, but how did you land on that?
When my parents gave me a Nintendo 64 as a child, Manchester United was the default team on the game in 1999 for obvious reasons, and from that point on, and they were really one of the only teams you could actually watch over here on television because they didn't carry a ton of big games over here, and so you didn't really get to see much. So it was kind of just a natural, kind of just like coaxing into that.
Now, one of my longtime good friends, he moved over here from Southampton in 6th grade, and I believe, Rhys, maybe you can chime in here. He would have called you a glory supporter.
I mean, it's what it feels like sometimes.
It hasn't been. It's not been that great of a run for you recently, though.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I think I'd agree, but I think you've got a better claim than most, because if you ask most people who aren't from Manchester, or if they've got no family ties or affinity to the club, then it's just like, it's United. You know what I mean? They're the team to support.
Yeah. Well, from your perspective, like, I mean, you're a Newcastle supporter. You've gone to almost every game this season. You're there. You're in the thick of it. Can you make a case for any Americans to become Newcastle supporters over those other teams? I mean, the whole Chelsea narrative right now, I'm worried it's going to sway a bunch of Americans to become Chelsea supporters with all the money flying around. We need some more Newcastle people on this side of the pond.
I actually think there's pockets of Newcastle fans. I've definitely seen photos online, especially on Twitter, of Newcastle themed pubs like all over America, and on a match day, like everyone's got the old Newcastle shirts on, and it's nice. But with Newcastle right now, it's exciting. It's by no means exciting as Chelsea breaking FFP rules in a window, but it's building towards something. And I think if it's almost like a game, it's like a role playing game. If you wanna strap yourself in and just experience something. And yeah, I think Newcastle's that team. Not that I'm wanting anyone who's not really into the club to just jump on the bandwagon per se, but if more supporters is more supporters. It's hard enough to get a ticket anyway if you're a season ticket holder right now. So yeah.
Can I ask a stupid question?
I would love for you to ask a stupid question.
Is there any connection between Newcastle, the Brown Ale, and Newcastle United?
So from from my memory, I'm pretty sure that brown ale used to be brewed in like Newcastle city centre,
Okay.
but I think that brewery closed down when I was like quite a bit younger, and I don't even know who brews it anymore. It's not is it that popular? I've definitely seen a few older men ordering a bottle of it, but I don't think many young people are drinking it. I
No,
think it's more.
I think like the perception in the UK, and you know, I went straight into drinks because this is one of our you know, recurring topics here on the podcast.
We drink.
We you know, we like to drink. And the bottle is very famous.
Yeah.
You know, that yellow and blue with the brown
The
ale
bottle's
behind
nice.
it.
The bottle's really nice.
Well,
But I
something
think
that
it's
I've
like,
always liked about just soccer, football, whatever you want to call it in general, is the matrimony between a sponsor and the actual kit itself. And
Mhm.
sometimes that's what it does. It just makes it awesome. Like, I mean, there's the iconic kits, the Newcastle. I would say the Newcastle jersey with the Newcastle beer logo on it
yeah,
was something that like I remembered as a
because they
child.
were the sponsor for a while,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's the Liverpool Carlsberg. It's all those kind of things.
Reese,
Those
what's your
on
go-to?
like
Sorry, go ahead.
like on that topic, I found myself on YouTube the other day watching it was just like an away day vlog on YouTube comparing like a really lower league team, and then it was like Chelsea's like corporate experience, and the guy like happens to collect football kits, so I kind of went down the rabbit hole of watching this guy for a couple of hours, like try and seek out old football kits which have got like a bit of relevance to him, and I found myself on eBay. I don't know if this has been like a recent thing since Newcastle got taken over and they're performing well, but some of those old 90s and early 2000s football kits you speak of with the it's got like the nice Adidas embroidery, it's got
Mhm.
the Newcastle crest, really like good stitch count,
Hmm.
and then it's got the puff print brown ale on the torso. They're going for serious money, like £300 on like active bids, if not more. So
Thanks a lot, Ladcore.
I know. I had a United jersey that was a Ruud van Nistelrooy. It had the puff patch Vodafone sponsor, and I lost it somewhere along the lines. But it was a beautiful, beautiful jersey, and it just kills me that I don't have it to this day.
I've got these Newcastle shirts pulled up. They go.
Do you have
They're hard.
Do you have an all time favorite one, Reese?
um I like we had an NTL one, which is essentially like Sky TV before Sky arrived in the UK. I like those ones, and I like the Northern Rock one as well. Like Northern Rock was just a bank which like went bust like maybe 10 or so years ago. But I like the fact that it was like Northern, and Newcastle's a really Northern club. I thought there was a nice bit of synergy there between the sponsors, even if it wasn't intended.
Yeah, I think whenever there's that synergy, it just kind of feels a little more natural. Let me think. I'm like, we need to get our footy questions out of the way.
Oh, we might as well. Yeah. While you kind of peruse our rundown, I'll throw it back to Reese. We mentioned Newcastle. What are you throwing down when on a match day when you're at a match? What's the go-to beer?
Oh,
Or,
this is a scary question because what am I drinking? You know what, right? I really enjoy Corona and Sol just out the bottle.
Yeah.
Really?
Uh, yeah. I'll get critiqued a lot from people in the UK for that, and I just kind of try and own it. But it's just stable. You know what you're getting. You know what I mean? There's countless times I'll go out for a drink, and friends will roll the dice and like but order a pint, and they'll do it that often in the same bar where they know that the gas isn't right, the line isn't right for whatever reason, and they'll ask the barman to change the pint. The guy will just go back the tap and just refill it, man. It's flat as anything. And I'm chilling. I'm like I've took the looks. I'm chilling with a Corona, Sol, Modelo. I don't even mind a Coors or a Heineken, to be fair, but I like a bottle of beer.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
my go-to. Yeah.
When you do a typical away day, what does that look like for you? I know that you have to drive a lot because you're coming up or you're going down from Newcastle to a lot of the stadiums. What's your ideal day when it comes to going and supporting the boys elsewhere?
My day is probably one of the strangest days because a lot of people get on like a supporters coach or whatnot and sit on the coach for how many hours, just like chant, listen to music and sink a lot of beers. But for me, as you said, it's a lot of driving. if it's a ground which is a pretty simple train journey, I'll probably get the train. But I actually really enjoy the driving. Is as much as people probably think, why is that the case? But probably wake up, try and time it so you can get there a good few hours before the game. Try and get some nice food in, like nice lunch, nice dinner beforehand. If there's a local spot which we don't have in Newcastle, I'll probably try and hit that up. And then just go to the bar and like soak it in a bit and have a few beers before the game. And that's about it, really. Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of jealous. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that
don't.
sounds like a pretty great day.
Sounds like an ideal way to spend a weekend day.
I mean, you've been to some Austin FC games, Reese. The city where we are in, Austin. Yeah,
Oh,
we've got an MLS
you,
team that's relatively new.
you, you,
We
you
just
guys
wrapped
did
up
a
our.
really good samba collab recently.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I forgot about those.
oh,
I didn't pick up
oh,
any.
oh, yeah, almost similar to a previous Wales Bonner samba collab, like the black and the
Oh
green
yes,
accents.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah. Those were a hit. I knew several people that were able to snag a pair of those.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
we've had
yeah.
some fun doing the Austin FC thing. It's been nice to have a club in town that we can go and support and do those kind of things with. I mean, to round out the soccer questions before we get into talking about why you're actually here, I do want to know, what are your expectations for this season for Newcastle? It's obviously been an exciting season for you guys. I mean, do you have high expectations, or are you trying to temper them a little bit?
Um, so the transfer window is just closed. It closed yesterday. So we signed two people. We signed Anthony Gordon from Everton, winger, can play on both sides. We signed Harrison Ashby as well from West Ham, bit of a young prospect for a couple of million. I think he plays right back from memory. Like I've got no. I need to preface this by saying I wasn't really aware following him before we made the signing, so I've got no knowledge on how good he could become. But I trust the system and I trust the club and its structure. So I think we can more or less make anyone a good player right now. But like with those signings in, we got rid of a couple of players like Chris Wood, who was the backup striker. He wasn't very good, but he had a bit of heart when he came on, and got rid of a midfielder as well, John Joe Shelby. He'd been real servant to the club, been here 7 years, so it was a shame to see him go. But if you're a footballer, you try to protect your best interests and make sure that money comes in near the end of your career. So that was the ingoings and outgoings, and based on that, it's hard to say. We obviously played Southampton last night in the cup, and Bruno Gamera he went in on for a really aggressive hard tackle in the second half. So he's going to be out for 3 games now, 3 league games. So with that in mind, and him being like a real talisman of the team and helping with build up the pitch and get a goal, it's hard to say. I do think we're going to probably draw and lose one or two of the next couple of games. So with that in mind and how tight the table is, it's looking a bit tentative for Champions League, I feel. I'd be really happy if we could lift the Carabao Cup at Wembley at the end of
Mhm.
February and qualify for Europa League. I think for the first full season being taken over under new ownership and just a new direction, I'd be over the moon with that. I think Newcastle fans kind of get a bad rep on Twitter and Facebook and just general social media for maybe having really high expectations. But as far as I'm concerned, going week in, week out, more or less every game and just soaking it in all the time, it's just a case of the fans wanting the players to try. If you leave your heart on the pitch every game and you've got nothing left, we can't really expect any more of you. So like a top 6 finish in lifting the Carabao Cup would be lovely for me. If we could squeeze it and manage to get Champions League, that would be like I'd be elated with that. But it also comes with the problem of like depth for that many
Mhm.
competitions in the following season. So the owners would really have to splash some cash.
Well,
So
maybe once we're done with this recording today, we'll go check our televisions and we'll see that Nottingham Forest put up 4 against United, and it'll make your job a little easier. I hope that's not the case, but it's possible.
the I'm I've got my fingers crossed, but with Man United up 3-0 already on aggregate, that's almost an impossible task, especially at home at Old Trafford. Come on. The atmosphere there will be pumping tonight.
Oh yeah. Well, as much as I want to keep this conversation going down this road, I do think we need to pivot a little bit to why you're actually here.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
anyone
let's
out
do
there
it.
who's not familiar with Cake Not Crumbs, can you explain why you started doing the Instagram and what it really is? I hesitate to qualify it in a specific way just because, um, yeah, it kind of is what you want it to be. So if you just want to speak to that a little bit.
I don't even know if I can qualify it myself. I think that's a pretty good way of looking at it. It is what you take it as and what you understand and digest from it. I think ultimately it started as just an Instagram account to share imagery, whether that was like a really thought out image or just like a quick photo I thought was cool of a car or whatnot. And it kind of grew from there in a sense of trying to try out different content streams and almost treat it like a TV network, just trying out regular series of content and seeing how that performs. And it kind of got a bit of traction and went from there. And it's really exploded over the past 12 months.
What do you think it was that got the traction to start with?
I think the consistency and I think the maybe the approach to just the general approach to social media and how it's very upfront. I think how I am on that account is how I'd be if you met us at the bar and just bumped into us in the street. I think it's very on a level, and I think it's accessible for almost anyone.
Mhm.
You kind of like bridge the gap between a personal account that kind of shows what you're up to and what you're doing, and then like a mood board type of Instagram account, which is where it feels like it leans to me when you're, it's like, a slideshow of photos, stuff that you've been into, watches, sneakers, Stussy drops, whatever that might be. Like, did you
Yeah.
did you kind of have to decide that it was going to be both at the same time?
I think last year I went through a period of just almost I think I was on the cusp of just making a third account because obviously mood boards were becoming really popular.
Right.
And I was like, I've been on Instagram that long, like working in Instagram, like working in social media professionally for um approaching 5 years. And just like living on the platform that much, I felt
Yeah.
I almost need a slice of this. And I think one day I thought I'm just going to roll with it. I like this account. It's got a decent following. People are engaged. So I don't really want to ruin that and have to start from the beginning and almost put less time into what I've built so far. So I think one day I just made the conscious decision to share things I was into in like a mood board sense, and then just continue the more like personal account postings. I think if you were trying to explain that to someone and they hadn't seen it before, they'd probably think it was a bit crazy. And I don't think I've really seen anyone else doing that or taking that approach to Instagram, as far as I'm aware. So I don't know. I think a lot of the secret to the success of it is just the approach and the copy. And I'm really active on there as well. I must spend like before work, and after work, maybe 5 hours a day just sitting on the account.
Well, I think your strategy is smart, just because it's, it gives it just gives more personality and depth to the account overall. Because not only are your fans and your followers kind of like seeing what you're into, but they're seeing you. So it just makes it gives them like a point of reference where they can relate to. Maybe they're soccer fans too. Maybe they're maybe they just it opens up the book a little bit in a way that I think is really smart, and it's one of the things that I certainly enjoy about following you. So,
Yeah.
man, you talk about the time. I have in the past tried to, you know, dedicate myself to staying consistent on the platform, and it's such a huge key. And I just think it's like people take for granted the time commitment that it takes to post stuff every single day.
People don't realize, and so many people, you probably get this question all the time of how you get into this profession, how you do this kind of thing, how you get it started. And it's the consistency piece that people don't understand is just like the ultimate thing is doing it day after day after day after day and making yourself realize that that's just how you do it.
Yeah, like before I answer that, I'd like to work out how like both of you landed on the account and found it. Was there a specific bit of content or was it just like I don't know.
When I first started seeing it, I think it started popping up on my explore page, and to be
Same.
honest, I don't know if it was on my explore page in terms of my personal account or the Sunday Scaries account or the retail therapy account, but it popped up enough that I think I finally messaged Barrett and I was like, "You gotta follow this account." And I think one of the reasons it kept popping up was because, and this speaks to how good you've done at, curating the content on there. There were always things that were right in my lane, things that I was interested in, things that I thought were good looking, and just you and I think your taste is very similar to mine in terms of the things that you like, and it made it very easy for me to get in. And then once I saw the supplemental content that was outside of just fashion, watches, sneakers, whatever it may be, it made it a lot easier to follow and kind of go in head first.
Yeah, it definitely popped up on my explore page. It's the first time I came across it, and that my feed there is mostly fashion, streetwear, sneakers,
Hmm.
and all that type of stuff. So
And like the random model
and then yes, a random model. Yeah, yeah,
that
lots of those too. Yeah, we've been joking about how like all the female fashion stuff that is populating my feed currently is like all overseas. It's like no American girls anymore.
Mm-mm.
So and then I think I would see other accounts share Reese's content from Cake Not Crumbs too. Like
Mhm.
it'd be in somebody else's stories as like people throwing up their own inspiration from accounts that they follow, and your stuff would pop up there as well. But yeah, I mean, like Will said, there's a lot of crossover here. Like I'm a huge fan of the Solomon stuff and the New Balance stuff, and the Stussy as well, which I see you're rocking right now.
Do you
Yeah, yeah, this is actually the only crew neck I own, I think. Yeah. I the fit of this Stussy Nike to be fair, I'm saying the fit of it. I bought the black sweater, and the black sweater's got a different composition.
Hmm.
I think, it's probably 'cause the grey's probably got a bit of polyester in it,
Yep.
whereas the black will just be, like, cotton. The black one's actually shrunk a bit with washing, but the grey one, this has stayed firm. I would actually and wear this all the time. Really good piece.
when you're curating your content and you're finding things, I don't want you to reveal your sources because I know that might, it might change the way that other people do things, but you've talked before about taking pride in being first and doing that and making sure that when at your old jobs and things like that, that you were first and you were trying to beat those big accounts. What do
Yeah.
you think it is that what do you think it is about just you, your personality, your habits that allow you to be on top of it? Because it's such an important factor of what you're doing to be first or to be on top of those trends.
I think the thing that separates me and other people, for the most part, is I think I'm ridiculously tapped in
Mhm.
to just the culture in general. I feel like if you were just almost posting and sharing this sort of content with the intention of with the sole intention of like trying to build and establish and grow, I think it would fail or like every time.
Mhm.
If not every time, 9 out of 10 times. But the way I approach the account is it's just what I like, and if people like that, then fair enough. If they don't like that and it doesn't perform, at the end of the day, I like it and I'm a fan of it and I've wanted to share it. So I think that's one of the main factors, and I think I'm just on top of and in conversations that a lot of people aren't involved anyway, through whether that be through just being in the industry or just being aware of what's surfacing and how timelines work and how seasons work when it comes to like fashion and capsule collections and releases. I think that's really important to
Mhm.
it.
Do you ever find like we talked about consistency being key? Do you
Yeah.
ever and maybe this was something you experienced early on with the account and not so much anymore as it's grown and you've gotten more confident with all of it and you just feel more comfortable. But like one of the things I remember feeling is like kind of setting up a post, getting it all squared away and like set, and then being like, is this good enough to post? Does that ever happen to you? Do you ever feel like like you're just posting to post, or are you really dialed in every time and
No.
it's just very
So
natural?
so I think it's February now. I think last summer, at the end of last summer, like we're talking like August, September time, I think I was like really drilled through the summer, just like making sure I posted every day. If I could post twice a day, fantastic.
Yep.
But after that period of time, I kind of reevaluated it a little bit and just thought, I really just want to post something if I'm really into it. I kind of changed the like parameters I'd put a bit of content through before it went live.
Yeah.
So after I did that, I haven't dialed it back because I'm still posting every day. But some days I won't post that. I won't beat myself up for not posting either. I think that's a thing like a lot of people go through when they're trying to create and curate things. They want to post every day because it's good for the algorithm. It's just good to that repetition's nice, the consistency. But I think you shouldn't almost have that as like a guillotine or a noose you're putting yourself against for the purposes of just trying to stay active. I think I think most weeks there'll be 6 or 7 posts. Some weeks there might be 4 or 5, and if that's the case, and I've took a bit of time out just to enjoy something or be a bit more present, then that's fair enough. Because I think like mid last year, I was just like I was always on. I'm still always on my phone regardless, but I was on my phone to the point where it was just like this is a bit much. So if I'm out to dinner, if I'm out the house at the bar or something, or just anywhere, I try to like go on my phone as little as possible if
Yeah.
I can.
I think that's something we can all relate to, even if we're not running very successful Instagram
Yeah,
accounts.
it's so addicting, especially when you see like even I mean everything from just being excited about what you're posting to seeing the interactions come in to just seeing the numbers change, whatever it is, like it is somewhat addicting and it is a habit you kind of have to get yourself out of every once in a while. It's not the healthiest of habits to sit there refreshing and seeing who or how many people have liked something. Reese,
Yeah,
I have a question in a different lane for you. And
yeah, yeah.
this
Shoot,
is a lane that I don't know anything about, and it's a lane that I wanna know more about. What watch do you have on right now? And 2, how did you get into watches in the first place?
I've got I'm wearing a 116710 LN. It's a black ceramic Rolex GMT Master 2 from 2007. Um, how did I get into watches? The watch thing is a funny thing because I've always I as far as I can remember, I've always like liked watches. And there was almost a period of time when I liked watches and I wouldn't really wear a watch. I just liked the idea of watches
Yeah.
and just almost collecting them like willy nilly and just whether that was like they'd be really cheap watches at this time. We're not talking anything like Swiss, anything entry level or anything like that. Just G Shocks, Casios, and the like. Um, I really don't know what sparked it. I'd really like to know, but I've got really distinct memories of like being like young. Like I'm 27 now. I'm 28 in a couple of months. Being like 15, 16, and there's a shopping center, not like you guys would call it like a mall, just like a shopping
Mhm.
indoor shopping center, loads of
Yeah.
shops. And there's a couple of jewelers there now. There was like one big jewelers there, and I distinctly remember like being able to identify like Rolex in particular, like 15, 16, and just like almost have a really good understanding. Like I could probably track the price of a Rolex from when I was 15, 16 to the price now pretty accurately without looking at like watch charts or Chrono 24, just through like having an active and passing interest. And that was well before I was ever in a position to pick up and own a Rolex. And that the funny thing is, if if I was this age now when I was 15 or 16, I'd probably end up becoming a watch dealer because watches back then were so cheap. You could pick up a 50th anniversary Kermit Submariner full kit for like 6,500, 6,800 for a perfect example. And I think even with the current downturn, you're probably talking about 13 to 14.4K in the UK. Yeah.
Yeah, the watch trade, the aftermarket, all of that, it kind of like it almost makes the sneaker market look tame,
I know, it's
you
like
know?
I feel like I'm at a comfortable spot when it comes to shopping for sneakers that, like, if I start to like, I was listening to the Dansplaining podcast when you were talking about how much you watch on YouTube and how that's a big educator when it comes to this kinda stuff, and I'm like, if I ever go down that road of watching these YouTube videos about watches and I start to learn, I don't want that's a habit that scares me to get, but it's also one that I can feel the itch starting to build a little bit.
Well, I mean, you heard Reese drop the reference number. There's like a little bit of a barrier to entry too.
Yeah.
One, obviously, is the price, but two, it's like, I'm a very kind of casual, watch aficionado. I can't name all the reference numbers for the Kermits and GMTs and Batmans and root beers and all that. But like that's how you have to learn how to like talk in that language, in the numbered language, to really dive into it. I think because that's it's like knowing what flu game 12s are, right? You have to know
Mhm.
like what the numbers are, what those reference things mean. But
Yeah.
yeah, is that a collection now that you're like really kind of into and actively growing, or are you more like kind of like trading one in, one out type of thing?
Oh, no, I'm definitely actively collecting. I think if I wasn't poisoned mentally, like being obsessed with watches, I think the one in, one out. I think one in, one out is the perfect place to be. But I feel like I'm in too deep to do that now.
Yeah.
Don't get us wrong. I've definitely run the numbers and worked out. Okay, if I traded these pieces, I could have a like
Solid
an
gold
A
presidential.
like I could have a Royal Oak, I could have
Yeah, yeah.
like an all that Equinox or whatnot, but I think for me, it's the intricacies of Rolex in particular that I really like. On the surfaces of it, you think that all of these watches for the entire production run are the same, but when you really get into the nitty-gritty and the dirt of it, there's so many different slight deviations for dial, whether the numbers on the bezel are a certain like calibration or like size or whatnot, whether the hour markers are a certain material for the loom, like the Rehort, that's the text in the inner ring that came in, and I believe end of like '06 or early '07. So there's different like transitional pieces and whatnot, and on the surface, a lot of people probably wouldn't get that why you'd be really enamored or like taken by it, but I think when you're really into it, it's a beautiful thing. So like for reference, the reason I said this is in '07 is because this is the black ceramic GMT is the first GMT Master 2 with a ceramic bezel. Before that, there were aluminum. So like the ceramic will like essentially last forever. So this watch isn't going to develop a patina per se or really change much apart from like dings on the case or
Hmm.
scratches. But it's almost a bit of a transitional piece because it's got a super luminova loom on the hour markers, and that was changed a couple of years later. So the loom on this glows green. It's got a green GMT hand, and the GMT Master 2 text is in green. And I wanted that synergy across all of it. So I wanted the hour marks to be green and the accents on the watch to be green. The newer references following like the end of '07 to mid '08 came with a blue chroma light loom, which I think is, I don't want to say it's disgusting, but if I could have the choice, I'd rather have the green accents over the chroma light blue ones.
Yeah.
But the like I'm saying this, then there's people who are also into watches who'd be like, "Ah, well, I want the 2018 where the 5-year warranty ran out in like like the start of 2023." Like some people are really hung up on warranty, whereas I'm more hung up on like the intricacies and specifics of that watch.
Yeah,
And
the
yeah,
smaller details that
yeah,
casuals such as ourselves know nothing about. But now you know, Will, fuck the blue loom. Get that shit out of here.
Yeah, next time I see someone with that, I'm gonna be like, "Yeah, no, thank you."
Just look down over at your friend. He's got this watch he's real proud of. He's like, oh, is that the blue loom?
Uh-huh. No,
Yeah,
no, no.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, like you talked about something recently that was the bravado of having like a good coat, and
yeah,
it started making me think of like when I put something on, what can I put on out of my wardrobe that makes me feel like cool, that makes me feel invincible, that makes me feel like I'm going out to do something. I mean,
yeah.
where does a nice watch? Where did your first Rolex land in that feeling when you first got it? It had to have been a moment where you're just like,
Are
okay,
you
I feel like I can go conquer the world right now.
Yeah, most definitely. That's probably the I'm trying like euphoria, elation. It's like it's nice, especially when it's something you've like worked towards and saved up for and had the like I I know all the gigs that paid for that first Rolex. You know what I mean? I know what I had to do in order to pay for that one. And I think when you achieve one, it's almost like a checkpoint. Like I spoke of like listening to like a role playing game before. It's almost like that. It's like I've hit the checkpoint. I've like defeated that boss. I've got the trophy, the medal, the
Mhm.
new weapon per se, and now I can enjoy that, but also think what's next and move on. As much as there's like a bit of bravado with like a jacket. I know I've said that before. With watches, it's a little more. The world's like quite a dangerous place now, so I think you've got to be
Yeah.
as much as it's nice to like openly be in watches. I wouldn't wear. I don't even wear watch in London anymore, and I'm very careful where I wear watch just anywhere. To be fair, just I think as much as it's nice to wear the watch, it's not worth losing a limb or losing your life over, which is I think is something a lot of people don't want to admit or go into. But
Yeah, no, it's a
yeah,
common. That's definitely a common sentiment that I've been hearing quite a bit recently. Just kind of globally, really is that everybody just needs to be really really cautious with that type of stuff because it's hairy out there.
Oh yeah, when we
Um,
went over there this past summer, I told my wife Sally, I was like, please don't pack your good stuff. Please, we've already lost something before. We don't need to get it stolen from us this time. But yeah, it's a little scary.
Reese, I can tell how passionate you are about the watches. So
yeah.
I'm gonna pivot here to sneakers. Do you have the same level of attention to detail and passion when it comes to your shoe game?
I definitely did at one point. I don't know if it's still there, but I think sneakers were definitely a keystone, a building block in the business side and the understanding of the market when it comes to like tangible goods at that level. So obviously sneakers that I think the market's in a bit of a downturn right now, but
Yeah.
for every year like prior to the back end of 2022, the market was like really up and it was a real like nice place to park and put money, almost like a stock, a watch, just like a non-traditional investment per se. But the sneaker thing's a funny thing. I kind of feel like I've been there and I've had everything. By no means have I had every high value shoe in my time, but I feel like I've almost experienced what I want to experience, and I'm relatively content. There's definitely still shoes I like lose me shit over and really want to own and wear. But I think for the most part, I've took a step back and I'm really just trying to evaluate purchase intention and where and is this a necessity or is it just a need or a want? And if it's a need or a want, is it am I really that into it or is it something else that's driving is wanting to pick it up? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you find yourself kind of like it? We talked about how the sneaker market is kind of hitting a downturn right now, and with that turn, I feel like you can kind of either go one of two directions. You can either like really focus on basics, entry level shoes that are all time classics, whether that's Adidas Sambas or Chuck 70s or Vans or whatever, or you can go to the opposite end and start pulling from higher end things that have less hype and resale value, but that are less approachable for the masses. Do you feel yourself kind of pushed to one of those ends?
I feel like I'm firmly in between.
Yeah.
I think with what I'm wearing, I found myself just constantly clearing out shoes the past 6 to 9 months, just stuff I continue to amass, which I'm like, why did I buy that? Like, what was the point in picking that up? I'm not going to wear it for whatever reason. But I'm almost in between. I've definitely got a rotation of like I don't want to say lesser shoes, but shoes which are pretty easily replaceable.
Right.
I've definitely got like a selection of like shoes which are a bit more expensive, but still relatively easy to get, like a pair of Margiela replicas or a pair of
Yeah.
Prada's America's Cups. And then I've got stuff in between, like more sneaker stuff, like stuff I picked up in years gone by, which I still like or still looks good in an outfit, so I'll continue to wear it. And then everything which doesn't really fall in that category, I've kind of been just trying to clear out and get rid of.
I think when we talked about this a little bit on last couple of podcasts, but like we all got very comfortable over the last 5 years with a sneaker market that told us like, don't worry about this $150 pair of shoes. You'll easily be able to sell those and make your money back, if
Yeah,
not a little profit,
yeah, buy it immediately
if
if
you
you can
end up
get it.
not liking them. And like that's really changed. I think in my own closet where it's like I'm doing the same thing. I'm like, why did I buy these? Like I wear them twice a year and now I'm gonna, get $75 for them or whatever. Like, and so I think that, the kind of the surefire ability to kind of move on from them and get all your money back is definitely evaporating. And so I feel like that's where some change is happening too. But yeah, you mentioned Margiela replicas, which I feel like are maybe about to have another moment. I've loved the Prada, what did you call them? The cup, the America's Cup
Yeah,
sneakers?
America's Cup.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I remember those, like, in places like Saks Fifth Avenue and Neiman Marcus, and I think it's like a it's something that you're doing that I don't see anybody else kind of, like, on right now. So I always appreciate that people when people such as yourselves kind of go in a different direction like that, zag when everybody else is zigging, but yeah, it's cool to see some of the higher end stuff coming back as well. And you have a little bit of a background at End Clothing, is that right?
yeah. I'm social media manager over there. And I worked there. I worked there in like a couple of capacities and just like retail and just like in the warehouse when I was at university. And recently, like when I went back there March this year, so I'm definitely in the mix when it comes to product like landing and
Yep.
knowing what's coming in, knowing what's on the horizon and whatnot there.
Yeah, totally. I
Yeah,
mean, Will and I each have like a little bit of experience working at like higher end boutiques here stateside, and I think it's
yeah,
just huge to like gain like that just the knowledge of all of everything that is out there.
I
You
think it's
know?
like for me, it was so important to do that because it was the knowledge, but additionally, it was sorting through so many things that like when you're working in a store, you have so many things that come through that store every day that you can look at, whether it's something that's on somebody or whether it's something that's actually coming into the store that you're receiving.
Sure.
And it really allows you to understand your tastes and what you like and what you're particular about. And I also think that it kind of ingrains in you the the beauty of something that's quality, the beauty of something that is like maybe a little more rare, and you start to realize that like it's a never-ending game to play. It kind of ruins you a little bit. I mean, that's why I talked about being scared of going into the watch game because
Yeah. Oh
I,
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm already ruined on so many different levels where I'm like, oh yeah, go spend $35 on that shampoo, and I'm like, hold on, that's not a normal thing that people do. But I worked in a store where people would just go in and do that. I mean, do you think that working, I mean, a social media manager job is different than working in a warehouse receiving or shipping stuff? I mean, do you think that gaining that appreciation through that is kind of a necessity when it comes to loving that part of the game?
yeah, yeah, definitely. And as much as the job's social media, I'm still very hands on with the product. That I feel I get to see almost anything that comes into the business. To be fair, so it definitely allows you to decipher and hone your tastes when it comes to what you want to purchase and pick up yourself.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Speaking of those brands, should we talk some of the hottest shit going in the UK right now?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I feel like Barrett might be the better person for what the current trends are. I feel like I'm like playing. I've been a little absent lately when it comes to what's going on.
Well, I'm there's a few brands that I have in my mind specifically that I wanted to pick Reese's
Yes.
brain about because we have our own kind of connotations for them over here and they exist here, but like I feel like they have much bigger presences or a much bigger presence on the other side of the pond. The two that I'm thinking of, Reese, are Stone Island and Palace. And so let's start with Stone Island because I think that we have an appreciation that it kind of goes hand in hand with like football fans.
Yeah,
Here it kind of exists on like really in like this Gorp core kind of area where it's higher tech stuff and the flag, the patch label on the arm or on the trousers is people know that brand, but it's a big deal over there, right?
yeah, it's massive. I think it's always been massive. I think as long as I can remember being a teenager, then becoming an adult, I think it's been ridiculously important as a brand for so many people. I think the beauty of Stone Island is I think it's one of those brands which almost picks you up and it can transport you to so many different places. I think when I first got into the brand, I couldn't, I didn't have the money, or I couldn't stomach paying like £139 for a jersey sweater.
Yeah.
When now in 2023 they're like £280 for a standard crew sweat. So that tells you there the journey it's went on in pricing alone. But it's I think the Gore Core thing's like an interesting thing to like in Stone Island too, because obviously they do a number of Gore-Tex pieces and pieces which are like highly weather resistant.
Right.
But I feel like it's almost in so many different lanes. It could be like in obviously they've got the partnership with a Ralston Hugh over at Acronym, the Stone and Shadow Project line. They've got the Ghost line, the Special Project line. If it's a piece which is went through a pretty industrial and unique treatment in order to reach its like final form.
Right, right.
And I think there's a beauty there in that it exposes people who maybe wouldn't be exposed to that level of craftsmanship and like not necessarily tailoring because the cuts of the pieces aren't that unique per se. They're pretty uniform, like dependent on the garment. Like an overhead smock's going to have a pretty similar cut season to season. An overshirt will be pretty consistent in its cut, but there's definitely pieces with different treatments which are exposing like young men to things that never see anywhere else, which I think is really nice. I think when I first got into it, I'd pick up a sweater, maybe a pair of sweatshorts, and then you end up buying a comfort shell or a soft shell for like a couple £100, like 300-400 quid, and then you've digested that, and you're like, okay, well, what's next? Well, there's a lovely like Avorio camo multi camo jacket that's coming out with
Yeah.
really nice chest pockets.
So it
Let's
sounds like
look at that.
kind of exists as almost like the gateway drug in a way, because like, you
Yeah,
know,
definitely.
you want to get your hands on the patch on a crew neck sweater or something, and then the next thing you know, you're like learning who Errolson Hewitt acronym is and shopping Shadow Project. So it's like, you know, you kind of graduate, you have the ability to graduate there, but it's I don't know if we have like an equivalent here, because you know, you think about the logo and the icon on the sleeve and how people want to wear that and want to be seen, and that makes me think of like a Supreme box logo, but the other brand I mentioned is really the UK's answer to Supreme, which is
Yeah.
Palace.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like that, it's like the streetwear skate brand that, you know, sells out t-shirts and hoodies and does a bunch of collaborations. But it, you know, so I'm not sure what ours would be. It's almost like it's kind of got like a Ralph Lauren thing going, even
I
though it
know.
exists in a totally different
Decade.
category and genre of clothing. But
Well, why is there's a connotation around having the badges on when let's say you go out with a jacket and you've got them on. I mean, why is that a thing? Is it just because, I mean, you say you do double patches for away days. I mean, I kind of love
No,
that you're doing that, but
so
it's funny that that's a thing over there and that people think about it.
so the thing with the double badge, like I call the badge, we call the badge over here, but to be fair,
the
it's
badge.
definitely a pack. But we like for whatever reason we call the badge. But
Well, you can take it on and
the
off.
thing
So
with
I
that,
think I think badge
you,
makes sense.
you can and you can, and from my understanding of like culture, like UK culture and football culture, the patch the patch has obviously got like military reference.
Hmm.
A lot of Stone Island's like early pieces what are derived from like military materials, whether that be like a cover for a tank, like a tarpaulin on like a truck or whatnot, and they've taken that material like Massimo Osti, Paul Harvey, Carlo Ravetti, to name like some of the people that have been really pivotal in Stone Island. They've like looked at this fabric and material and thought, how can this be translated into like menswear? And the patch is obviously it's got like military like derivings like it's derivings that ain't a word. It's derived
Yes.
from like military insignia and whatnot. And I think the reason it's became like so noteworthy is that it was obviously worn in the 80s and the 90s a lot by football casuals in the UK, and even like to the present day. You probably won't see any more Stone Island on a match day at any like football ground globally. And like some places are really funny. Like I've got distinct memories of like not even like a day at the football, but like wearing Stone Island trying to go to a bar or a club and they won't let you in because you've got a Stone Island badge on. So it's obviously got the beauty that you can like take the badge off, but a lot of the pieces are so distinct in the nature that taking the
Mhm.
badge off, people still know it's a Stone Island jacket.
Yeah.
So I think some people will take the badge off because they don't want the attention, they don't want to potentially get into like a fight or whatever. Not that Stone Island, when Stone Island sing you like up for that sort of activity, but yeah, it's just
It's a
it's
revolution.
really like full circle as a brand, and
It's just like taking on
I
a life of its own with
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot what was the question? I forgot the
It
question.
was just
Sorry.
about why that's a thing. I mean, it's interesting to me because it's kind of polarizing in a way.
How so?
Yeah,
How so? Like just like you mean Stone Island itself?
Yeah.
Like the
Just
fact that it can like keep you out of a club, but also it's desirable to wear.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
like there's when it comes to the football and so on, there's almost like an idea of like peacocking, like
Right.
like a jacket that people
Yeah.
couldn't afford. Like these a lot of these jackets in the days of like European football in the 90s were being stolen from like retailers in Europe. Like lads would go on away days to Europe and just like rinse stores of all the like Adidas Terrace styles, all of like the Stone Island, the Sergio Tacchini like track jackets, stuff of that ilk, and like come back the following week with like a lovely jacket, probably getting a fight or a scrap, and do the same the following week. And yeah, it's almost got its own like currency and level of value to it. I definitely can like spot a nice jacket if I'm at the football, and it's a nice thing to do. Like you're gonna feel special if you're wearing a pretty rare or older piece, especially if it's got like a nice process to it, and it's not like a run of the mill jacket they're doing season on season.
Hmm.
There's so there's another streetwear brand that Will and I are big fans of. Randy, to get ready to ring the bell. But they've just opened up a shop in London in Soho, I believe, and that's Ame Leon Dor. It's a brand that I that has a huge footprint here in stateside and especially New York streetwear culture. It's not something I've seen you post much about. I was just curious about your kind of familiarity with it, and if that's a brand that you see kind of growing over in the UK.
I've actually got a pair of AM Leon Dor. You said a lot better than me. AM Leon Dor.
We've had a lot of
That's how
practice over
Yeah,
here.
yeah. We've gone
but,
through many pronunciations of it
Yeah.
as well. So
I've got a pair of like mesh basketball shorts they did in collaboration with New Balance on now.
yeah,
But aside from that, I've you know what, I've never really picked up any pieces, and part of that is I think the brand's very expensive, almost to the point of inaccessibility for
Mhm.
what it is and what it offers.
yeah.
I agree.
From my perspective, it's almost like quite preppy. It's almost quite like, but it's obviously above J. Crew and what it offers. But I almost get like a Brooks Brothers vibe or a Ralph Lauren vibe from some of the pieces that they put out.
Totally.
Um, I it's definitely not engineered for like my body type. I'm quite a big guy, so I think aside from a pair of shorts or like even a t-shirt, I regularly check out the store in London. I think it's a beautiful space. I think the coffee shop is a stroke of pure genius
Yeah.
because every time I'm in London, I'll go there and pick up a coffee. And like shout out to the guys over there that are actually really hospitable. Like hooked us up with a gift card for the coffee shop. I was down like a week and a half ago. The card nearly ran out. They topped it up again with some money so I can just go in and get a coffee when I want. Like the staff are a touch. They're really, really good people. And I think that's one of the good ways they've approached the UK is really try and get ingrained within like the Soho community and people like people of interest who they're aware of. I think that's probably
Mhm.
Teddy's approach and just how they've moved in New York. Not that I've been to the New York store, but that's just what my understanding of it is.
Yeah,
But back
yeah.
to the I think like they collaborate a lot with New Balance. Some of the New Balance pairs are fantastic. I think 550s may be a little overdone per se, and hopefully they're gonna park that pretty soon, especially with the ALD partnership. But they released like a made in UK 991 and like a brown leather and a grey and like olive makeup. That grey and olive pair, probably one of my favorite shoes of last year. I never had them off my feet really.
You're
Yeah,
killing me.
But
I didn't get them when they released, and I actively was like, no, I'm going to be responsible. I'm not going to spend money. A few days later, a box comes to our front door, and I look down, and I'm like, what's going on here? Did my wife buy me some shoes? And she went and got them for herself, and now she's been tromping around in them,
oh
and it's killing
man.
me.
Yeah, you you think you made a great point that I hadn't really considered, which is that ALD definitely plays with like Ralph Lauren, Nautica, like early
Mhm.
90s American preppy
Oh,
sportswear.
and it's that part that is ingrained in
And
us that probably isn't
right,
ingrained in other
and
people.
that doesn't totally play the
Mhm.
same way in England. Whereas, like, the stuff they had Saka as the campaign person
Mhm.
for that
Yeah.
for the 991 collaboration
Mhm.
that you're talking about. And so it's like that type of play, the collaborations with New Balance, and just kind of like, maybe setting up like a little bit of a different operation over there is what
Yeah.
it'll take to kind of grow it
I think
in a different location, a different country.
I think for me, the stumbling block is if I could walk in and be like, be aware that anything I picked up would be a nice fit.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that would be the first thing because I've got no problems, like, paying a bit more for an item if it's gonna sit nice.
yep.
But I think a lot of the pieces are quite plain for how much they are, like, I think I paid, like, £90 for these shorts, like, and don't get us wrong, they're a nice pair of shorts, but they're a New Balance blank,
Yeah.
so it's not even like an ALD blank, so I've paid the ALD price, but I'm just want a pair of, like, mesh £12 New Balance basketball shorts with, like, a
Yeah.
ALD screen print. But so I think one of the ways it's succeeded is, like, across mood boards and Instagram almost. I'd almost like in a lot of the insignia and branding, how, like, Justin Saunders moves with, Jound, and it being
Mhm.
almost like an if you know type brand while still being, like, very in the mix.
Right.
Like, people are very aware of it, but almost I'm not gonna see many people in Newcastle walking around in aimley and Door, and if they are, I presume they probably either work in industry or they know what's up.
Mhm.
They've got the finger on the pulse.
I struggled with this earlier this year, or not earlier this year, I guess last year. I had an open afternoon in London, and I posted something on Instagram story being like, "Where should I go shop?" And I got so many responses that it was overwhelming. If you got an afternoon to burn in London, what neighborhood are you going to? What shops are you trying to hit?
I think a couple of years ago, I maybe would have said Shoreditch because Shoreditch had quite a lot of cool spaces. Like, you could shop some decent vintage there. Not that that's my vibe, but it's almost cool to check it out still and be exposed to it in that depth. Decent coffee shops in that area. You'd have, like, sneakers and stuff, which were like I've spent a bit of time, like, working and living in Shoreditch when I was a couple of years ago, so I was really, like, au fait and accustomed with the area, and they'd have quite an eclectic mix of sneakers on the wall and just, like, interesting brands when you go in. Good Hood, I in the past regard that is a really, like, good store. I was there a couple of weeks ago and I wasn't blown away as I was in previous years. Like, in the past, that would be a store I'd go and I'd maybe identify a piece I'd seen online that I was hard to see, but I could try on, and I can reel off probably 5 to 10 times I've went in the Good Hood with no intentions of buying anything and left with, like, a nice piece just
Mhm.
out the blue, just for it being presented in the right way and being, like, available to try on. So, like, ruling out Shoreditch, I'd probably say Soho, and I imagine your follow-up question is gonna be which stores would I recommend checking out if you had a couple hours in Soho in the afternoon? Um, Supreme from a heritage standpoint, I'm definitely not going to stand in the queue if there's been a drop, but
Mhm.
I think with, Tremaine being at the helm, I think when the lookbook surfaces in a couple of weeks, I think this will be his first season with, like, real direction over the brand.
Yeah.
So I'm really intrigued to see where he's took it and who the collaborative partners are going forward. Because I think what he's done with his seminal brand, Denim Tears, however you want to say it, is is really good, and that's a brand that's, like, firmly on my radar. Aside from Supreme, obviously Stussy, I think that's a beautiful space, and when it reopened in 2018, the London chapter, I think Soho was dying out for it to return. So I definitely, like, pop in there and check that out. Our Legacy, like, just nice space, and that's quite hard product to see really. If a store carries it, it's quite unlikely they'd have a great selection in store just because of how almost underground it is and just, like, not forward facing with the branding or anything. Um, see, Très Bien, they've got a little spot, just like a stone's throw from Supreme in, Soho. Really like their online presence, and it was nice when they opened that space. I've never actually I purchased a book. I purchased, like, an HR Geiger book actually because they had a cool, like, little book concession in there. But aside from that, I've never really found any, like, garments or footwear to pick up in there. But that's a cool shop.
Well, this
Man, I need to get to Soho. God,
well,
thank
see,
thank God we don't have shopping like
dude,
this here.
seriously, I mean, our plan that day, our original plan was that we were gonna go to a match that day, and then it got canceled, so we were like, "Shit, what do we do?"
Y-
I got so overwhelmed by the amount of recommendations, and we were just gonna go head down to Soho, but we ended
Uh-huh.
up just getting drunk and eating Indian food instead, so it didn't really matter.
y- as much as I'm like necessarily waxing lyrical about it, I'm almost a bit not done with it, but a bit tired of it.
Yeah,
Like
hesitant to
the time.
recommend.
What'd you say? Sorry,
Like,
what
just
was
a
that?
little hesitant to recommend it just because it might not
No,
be, you know, as
I'm like
in its glory
I
days.
think I I think if you're not there like all the time, it's cool. But I think when
Mhm.
you're there quite a bit, whether I'm down for work or I'm there for the football, or I'm just going to see friends. You kind of like overexposed to it a little bit, so it like loses its sheen or its like shine that it has like to people who aren't there
Yeah.
weekly or bi-weekly. But like aside from those stores I said, Airmail and Door, worth checking out. Like beautiful store. Like got an art installation from Terrell Winston there. Pair of like 85 Chicago's chilling.
Mhm.
It's like perfect. It's nice for a photo dump. That's probably the best way to describe the store.
Mhm.
If you want to throw together a cool photo dump, like get yourself in the ARD store and take
Yeah.
some photos. And probably last but not least, probably end on the basis that it's probably the biggest like multi-brand retailer in the area. Obviously, you've got Selfridges a little bit further afield.
Yeah.
Harrods, like, I feel like what they're offering is far less curated and more for a tourist, where the end offerings for someone like fully in the mix and understanding of
Yeah.
what like menswear is and where they're at with it.
Reese, the way that we end every episode here is that we each choose one item that we add to our wish list. I gave you a little homework today. Did you have anything prepared for any items that you're looking to add to your rotation in the coming days?
Not really. No, no.
That's okay.
I
If I'm being
you
honest, I
know
actually don't have anything this week for my wish list either. So that's actually not the worst thing in the
what
world.
what's the timeline for the wish list? Are we talking like the next couple of days? Or we're talking like
We
monthly, weekly?
so we kind of divided into two categories, or at least that's the way it's shaken out
Hmm.
here. But like the things that we put on our wish list are kind of like sometimes pretty aspirational, and maybe just things we're kind of like considering, ruminating on. They're almost points of inspiration, something we'd like to have someday, or in some type of future. And then we also have what we call our imminent cops, which are like
Okay.
things that we are about to buy
Yeah.
or
It's like I
are
can put this on the wish list, but I know this is getting off that wish list like
yeah,
the
yeah.
second I can get my hands on it.
Yeah, and so it's you can really take it in whatever direction you want to take it in. But yeah, I mean, we've talked Stussy a little bit. They just put out a lookbook. I just got an email a couple hours ago
Ye
for their uh, for
I'm
for their spring lookbook, and I've also seen you post on your account that kind of lime green Casentino wool CPO shirt. That I might
Dude,
make that mine today.
everybody's loving Casentino these
Well,
days.
I mean, yeah, it's Casentino. What's not to like?
the funny thing is, I seen that lookbook pop up before, and for the first time in maybe a year or a year and a half, I don't love the
Oh
lookbook.
man,
I think the positioning of it is. I think like when I say position, I'm talking like the backdrop,
yeah,
how it's being presented, what the storytelling is for the general lookbook. But aside from that, I think there's maybe a lack of cohesion in the styling.
mm,
Like I'm a Stussy nerd. When there's probably no brand that I track more than Stussy, just because I really enjoy it. But I'm flicking through the lookbook now, and I know for a fact some of these pieces already dropped
yeah, they did.
2
Yeah,
weeks ago.
yep,
So we've been presented with a lookbook where some of the pieces have already dropped. And for people who aren't that au fait with Stussy or following it as intently as I am, they'll hit the site on Friday and they'll be like, "Oh shit, that's already sold out. That's been sitting on the site." I think maybe the way it's been approached this time hasn't been the best, but flicking through, I can't really see anything that's really catching my eye. No, normally they'll tease like a nice pair of like beach pants in a
hmm
funky like motif, but it seems like they're favoring those like Nike or almost flight cargo pants over the beach pants now. And I picked up a couple of pairs of those up like late last season, and I'm not in love with them. I've paid for them. They're sitting there, and they'll get seminal wear, but they're not going to be. They're not. I'm not going to be like strutting around in them daily. So
What's
discounting Stussy from that. Hmm. You know what? Stone Island had a couple of nice pieces in the lookbook. I don't know if you're familiar with it. The SS23 lookbook came out a couple of days ago.
I haven't looked through
There's
it.
there's a couple of jackets there that I've probably got my eye on, but saying that, I'm probably not going to spend like what I probably won't want to spend what the retail is. I'd probably rather put that money into another brand.
Yeah.
So if I could score one of those jackets with a bit of discount, probably a Stone Island jacket over the next couple of months, imminently. What do I need? You know what I mean? I'm pretty good on tees. I'm like really well versed with shirting. Outerwear, I'm pretty good. Probably just some new like general pants to wear day to day. So if Stussy re-up on like the black and navy beach pants this Friday, I'll probably use this as an opportunity to pick some of those up.
Is that
But
your go? Is that your kind of your go-to pant? Is the Stussy beach pant?
yeah,
Yeah.
I live in them. I
Okay.
love that. I love the cut of that pant. It's almost like perfect out of the packet. So
I get a lot of questions about pants, Will. You know what I mean? Like people are they're bugging my line about pants. So
Y'all,
I'm going there next time.
you two are killing me because Barrett like had to punt on something the other day, or he was a little late for something the other day because he was waiting for a Stussy drop. I was listening to the Dan Splitting
Stussy, our
podcast,
legacy,
and you were
yeah.
talking about everything, and I'm gonna end up spending a bunch of money there before summer comes. I'm gonna be all Stussy this summer. You guys are gonna hate it. Well, Rhys, thank you so much for joining us. This was a very fun way to have our first guest on, and we appreciate it so much. Where can the people go follow you if they're trying to get more of your content?
this is pretty easy. I only really live on Instagram. That's the only social media I use. So at cake not crumbs. Hopefully you guys will nices and throw a little tag so they don't have to type it in and then just click a link.
Of course.
Oh yeah, well, you're going to be
Yeah.
very evident across all socials. No worries there. All right, Rhys. Well, be safe, and I hope to have a very competitive match between Newcastle and hopefully Manchester United in the Carabao Cup final.
I hope we win, but I do hope it's competitive for the sake of the neutral. Come on.
Are you going to make it there for it?
Oh, this was the discussion last night, and this is where a lot of the anxiety came from after the game. It's like we've made it here, and I'm obviously a season ticket holder. I go to I want to say like 70 to 80% of away games, but I'm going to away games a lot of the time on just like connections and the charity of people who've got like a silly amount of loyalty points, which enable you to buy an away ticket.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some points, but I don't have a great deal because they're that hot. They're that hot to like amass and accumulate. So I've booked the hotel already. I booked the
You'll
hotel.
be there. You'll be there.
I'll be there in some capacity, hopefully, but hopefully it's pretty seamless and I can like buy my own ticket because I've already seen people quoting like crazy amounts for tickets, and I probably would pay that, but it would be nice just for the club to reward the people who go week in, week out.
Yeah.
But, that's a story for another day.
Well, we'll be keeping an eye out for you.
Rhys, actually, I got one last question for you. Can we expect you stateside anytime? Are we going to see a little New York or anything like that on the gram anytime soon? 2023.
You know what? I'd love to. I've got quite a lot of friends I've made online in LA, and I've only been to America once. I went to Florida when I was a kid, which probably sounds crazy to anyone American because in my understanding of Florida, it's pretty. I don't want to say trashy and offend people, but it's a bit like it's not like the main destination for Americans. I feel, but for people in the UK, like they love a theme park,
right?
And they love in the sunshine. So. The thing with me is I've got a really bad phobia of flying. I've been to a lot of places, but as I've got older, I'm almost like the most anxious person ever on a plane. So I flew a couple of months ago. Went out to like Rome to watch the football for like a work trip, and I went to see like a hypnotherapist beforehand just to try and get myself in the right headspace. And I was definitely like more comfortable on those flights. I think if there's, I'm kind of waiting for an opportunity that will like kill the fear factor for us in like New York. So if there's something I really want to see that'll get us out there, I'll be out there because there's a lot of people I'd like to connect with, and I want to see the sights. You know what I mean? I want to go shopping out there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you just need somebody to fund the trip and put you in the business class
No,
with
no,
with the lay down
no,
seats.
I'm happy. I'm happy to sit in the car. I don't need anybody to fund the trip. I'm good for that. But I just need like something to really pull us out there.
Yeah.
Whether it be like a nice gallery exhibition or something like I can't miss
Yeah.
in the city. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, we'll toss down the retail therapy company card if our paths ever meet.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it'll be us in the UK. You never
Maybe.
know.
I mean, that's actually probably a better chance.
Yeah. So,
all right, Rhys. Well, we'll catch you on the flip side. We've really enjoyed having you, and we'll make sure to get people sent your way.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys.
thanks, Rhys.
Cheers. Thank you.